Okay, welcome back, guys. Okay, so where we were, let me share my screen. Okay, so we were in ad hoc commands, right? So we were actually in ad hoc commands. We actually introduced few of the ad hoc commands like ping, copy, shell, and uh, other commands also. Like we'll go other commands like user commands, right? So we'll go through the user commands. Yeah, so we have gone through yum command, uh, yum command, shell command. So yum package manager command this is. Similarly, now we'll go through user command. So this module user actually manages user specific functionalities. Okay, so we can actually create, manage, and remove user accounts on our specific nodes, which we actually give via inventory file. Okay, so let's go on executing one by one. So this particular example is like it will actually create a new user called foo with specific password of our interest in those all files. Suppose we want to create a user in all our inventory files, right? So what shall we do? Okay, I think I'm disconnected. Let me connect again. Okay, so sudo so dash I am back into the root. So get into my virtual environment. Virtual environment is I will actually connect via bin activate. Now I am inside the Ansible virtual environment. Now my Ansible commands will work. Let me use the module user. So Ansible minus m module user, and the command is module user and name password. That's it. Name password. Name is equal to I'll say my user. Okay, and password equal to my password. So I'm just creating a new user in all machines of my interest, in which I actually give in the inventory file host with the CentOS group. CentOS group. That's it, right? So I think I need to use become also. Let me execute it without become what it will complain. Let's see. Okay, because become will actually execute with root privileges. I will execute it without root privileges. So I will be getting an error, permission denied. So instead, now let me try with become. Become will actually execute with enhanced privileged user rights. So it was successful, right? You could see, right? It's as simple as creating user is such a charm. You just created users in all the three machines. A user called my user. You just created a user called my user with password my password. You can just use this. You can actually verify it afterwards. Probably you can actually verify it now also. Probably how can I verify? Let me SSH into one of the machine. Then I will actually log in as my user. Then it should work, right? I think that should be, I never tried it. Let me try it out. So I will actually SSH into one machine explicitly. Let me take this particular machine, 88 machine. So CentOS was the user I had before. CentOS at rate this machine. I should be able to log in. Yes, I'm able to log in. Now I should be able to see inside this machine. I should be able to see my user, right? So probably I can say sudo my user. This is the syntax, right? To log in as my user, not dash. Yeah, so sudo my user. Now I am logged in as my user because there is already user called my user. I'm able to log in explicitly. Okay, so I have successfully created my user. So if I log in with some other name, right, some random name, I'm not able to log in as that particular user because that user never exists. Because I'm successfully able to create my user as a user, I am able to log into that machine as my user, right? So I can use the Ansible ad hoc commands to create users this way. Okay. So let me exit out. Mm, Let me exit out of this machine also. Now I am back to my Bastion machine. I am back to my Bastion machine now. Okay, so this is the way I actually create a user. Okay, now, so how to delete the user? So this particular command will actually help me in deleting a user. So at the end, you have to say state is equal to absent. That's it. Then it will actually delete the user. Okay, so the name of the username and the state. Okay, so I'll just state is equal to absent is what the modifications I have to do. So name of the user and I have to just execute. Uh, so I'm sharing the screen, right? Yep, I'm sharing the screen. Cool. Yeah. So username and I will say state is equal to absent and it will go ahead and remove that particular user. Now let me verify if I have successfully removed the user or not. I will log in back to the particular machine and I will try to again log in as my user. It says complaint saying that I don't know, there is no user called my user because I have successfully removed the user also via Ansible. So just verified that uh, you can add user, you can remove a user via Ansible ad hoc commands using the module user. Okay, so this is a typical example of Ansible ad hoc commands to manage users. Okay, so managing service is one of the other features that we can use using Ansible commands. So just keep in mind that we are executing each and every command with single line word, right? So these are like single line commands. Ad hoc commands are nothing but single line commands. So when we club all these we can club all these single line commands into multiple tasks, group them together, and that we can group them together into a single YML file, which is called Ansible playbook. So that is how we can actually create a playbook, right? So playbook is nothing but we can actually club all the ad hoc commands together and write club them together and form a single YML file with a list of all tasks in it. So it is as simple as that. Okay. Now let's go to managing services. So this is particular typical example I have already explained you like how we can actually run a particular service, right? HTTP service, right? How you can actually start a service, stop a service, restart a service. So we have taken example of HTTP here in this case. So we can do the same thing here. Um, so we are everywhere using CentOS servers as here in this command, right? So we have to every time we have to rename it to CentOS. That's fine. Okay. So because it is multi-line, it is giving me error. And I don't have a group called servers. I will execute it. I will change it to CentOS. Hash PCY. Okay. Now it is successfully able to see. Okay, so if you remember, I actually uninstalled a service called HTTP. So because of that, it is not able to find a service called HTTP. I can go ahead and start a service called HTTP uh, via yum command, right? So here, so package, you can actually install package command HTTP via this command. You can just go ahead and reinstall HTTP here. Okay, so now you have installed HTTP service. Now that you have installed HTTP service, now it is not complaining. It is giving the status of your HTTP service. Previously, you haven't had a HTTP service. You have actually uninstalled the HTTP service. Because of that, you are not able to get the status of the HTTP service. Now, uh, so because there is no HTTP service, it give a complaint that I couldn't find any service called HTTP. Now you have the HTTP service, you can actually start that particular service. It is as simple as logging into that particular machine and executing the command systemctl start httpd, right? So it is as simple as that, right? So instead of logging into each and every machine and start the service via command systemctl start httpd, you just execute this particular Ansible handy ad hoc command, and it will just start the HTTP service in each and every machine uh, mentioned in your inventory file. Okay, okay. So that's the power of Ansible. Okay. Now we have seen how do you manage service. We have seen how do you start a service, how do you restart a service. So this is a typical example of restarting service. It's the same. Okay. So it's same as logging into the machine and saying systemctl restart HTTPD. It is almost same like that. So it will do the same command in all the machines. So to stop service also, we can actually say that state is equal to stop. Okay. So basically, so this feature is called, this is what like, this is what my expected behavior is. Ansible will take care of that. The expected state of the machine should be something like this, right? So this is called idempotency behavior. Okay. So what is the current state of HTTP and what is the expected state? Expected state is stopped, and I will actually change the state of the service HTTP to stop if it is not there in the state. And if it is already there in the stop state, I'll do nothing. So that's what. So that's the power of Ansible. So I have already started it. If I execute the started command again, right, it will do nothing. It will say that it is already started. That's it. So it gave me with a green signal because it is already started. Nothing has changed. It will just return with green saying that it is already started. Okay. Now, if I want to stop this service, I can stop it. Okay, by this command. Okay. Okay. So now this is another interesting feature, gather facts. Suppose if you want to gather all the information about your remote machine, all the host configuration, environment variables, and so on, many things, right? So if you want to get all as much information about the remote machines, so this is a particular handy command that you can actually use. Okay, so just execute it, you will know the power of it. Okay, so you just need to execute on the particular machine minus I host and a group called CentOS. Okay, just execute it. Now we will see all the list of the all the properties of the remote machines of your interest. So you will get a huge list. You will get a huge list of all the information about your all the three machines, right? In CentOS, you have three machines. So you're going to get all the information. So you can actually study each and every machine specific properties, right? So you gather the facts about that particular machine with IP address 152. So these are all like the different properties. So you based upon your use case, you can actually use these properties for your specific purpose, right? You can actually gather as much information as possible, and based upon your interest, you can actually find you can actually use these properties for your specific tasks. Okay, so you can see this is a very huge list. Okay, so this is like Ethernet specific configuration, maybe um, this is our IPv6, IPv4 of that particular machine, IPv4 MAC address of the machine, modules, lot of things, kernel, kernel version, lot of properties, right? So you can actually study each based upon your case. You can actually use them in your coding. Okay, so this actually completes brief about ad hoc comments, Ansible ad hoc comments. Now we will move to Ansible playbooks. Okay, we already have introduced Ansible playbooks before. We have executed a playbook called ec2.yml, right? So that's basically a typical playbook. So playbooks are nothing but Ansible configuration deployment, or it's a configuration deployment and orchestration language. So typically it is written in YML syntax, and it offers a repeatable, reusable configuration management and multi-machine deployment system. Okay, so this is all about what is playbook. Okay, so playbook can contain one or more place. It can contain more than one place, and each and every play can be divided with three dashes. So let me show you that. So actually, right, if you open one playbook, the previous ec2.yml. So at the beginning, if you see dash dash dash, right? So these three dash actually mentions the start of the playbook. It mentions the start of the playbook, right? So you can actually have in the single YML, you can have multiple playbooks. So once the playbook is done, here only you can actually start another playbook. It is as simple as like here you can start another playbook by mentioning dash 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 and dash dash dash, and then you can actually start another playbook saying name and your playbook. So here creating sandbox, you can say that okay, manage the sandbox, manage the manage the sandbox. Okay, so manage the sandbox instance, and you can actually add scripted code, YML code, which is essentially required to install any software in the newly created instances. In this case, if we have created 10 instances, right? So we can actually we can write code to actually, probably we can actually write code to connect to that particular machine and automatically install Git and restart the HTTP service. All those we can actually write it here itself. So in a typical YML file, we can have multiple playbooks also. So that's what we wanted to show you. So playbook can actually compose of more than one place. Okay. Okay. So a typical play contains a list of tasks. So there can be a typical play can have list of tasks. In this particular case, we had only one task. We can have multiple tasks also here. So we will go through it in the next discussions. We'll actually discuss about how we can write multiple multiple tasks in a single playbook. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So basically, generally a playbook actually follows this particular structure. So it has idempotency nature, which I have already explained it, right? So it always looks that the machine is in that particular desired state. If it is already in the desired state, it will not do anything. It will no more changes will be done. But if there is any change, if it finds that the desired state is not the expected state, desired state is not there, then it will actually perform actions which is required um, to come to that particular desired state. Okay, so that's how a typical Ansible playbook works. Yeah, so this is the example that we have seen. We have actually explained about the three dashes, and what does that actually three dashes mean just now. Okay. Yep. So in this playbook, we also have introduced what is typically called Ansible modules. So we know that what is now we are confident that what is the Ansible module. Ansible module is but nothing but a set of libraries, which uh, imagine that uh, it has specific functionalities which helps Ansible to perform its tasks. Okay. So in this particular case, EC2 is a particular module, and we are invoking this particular module, sending parameters to that particular module, and taking those parameters, the task is being executed whenever we execute that Ansible playbook command. Okay. Yep. Okay, so we have something called Ansible docs. So Ansible doc, so this is what, like we can get all the list of all Ansible modules that are right now installed in our Bastion machine. Okay, so this is a very handy command to see list of all. Uh, okay, so let's execute this. Let's execute Ansible docs. What it is? It is giving a lot of error. Okay, so it is something related to module Boto we have installed, right? So many of the modules are deprecated. So it gave me information of all the modules that are installed. Along with that, it is also giving me the warnings saying that a few of the libraries as a part of module that you have installed is deprecated. So this is it is giving me list of all the modules. Along with that, it is also giving the warning saying that they are already deprecated. So it actually gave me warning. Along with that, it is also giving me the list of all other modules that I have, right? So these are all the modules. We can go on pressing enter, and we can go on seeing the list of all modules that are available to us. So it is a huge list. So you can just go enter, just enter. You'll see list of all modules that are available to me. So we are just using these modules right now, right? So we can use all these modules. In this list only, we somewhere we'll find the copy module. So basically, other modules like shell module, user module. You can see, right? User. No, it is not the same user module. It is aws.user. Okay. So other modules, basic modules also will also be available. You can go ahead. Probably I can actually search. Can I search for a particular module name in this list? Yeah, so I can actually search for by clicking on this particular slash and that particular keyword user. I can actually search for that particular module name of interest user. Probably I can search for EC2. So it will give me list of all EC2 specific modules. Okay. So this Ansible docs list actually gives me all the modules that are installed in my machine. In this case, the Bastion machine. So let me quit. Okay. Okay. Yep. So this is about the Ansible docs. Okay. So this is another example. Like if you want to get information about only one module, you can actually execute Ansible docs yum. So this will actually go ahead and describe about the module yum. Okay. Yep. So let's go to our next topic. So now in this particular case, we are going to create a specific playbook. We are going to create our own playbook. So we are going to deploy a Flask application. So we're going to explain it step by step. Unfortunately, this particular playbook flask.yaml that we have written long back is not working in our machine. It was written in CentOS machine. CentOS, I think CentOS 6 or 7. But right now we are using CentOS 8, right? So that thing is not working now. But we'll see how to make it working. What are the steps? This is pretty much good case study how to actually decode this YML. So this is particular playbook. This is a particular Ansible playbook. So the basic idea of this playbook is to create a Flask app application based, which is a Docker based application. So it is we have already discussed about Docker Hub, right? So there in our Docker Hub we already have a particular Docker image under this particular repo, Ashok 25 flask app v25. We can just go and verify it. Okay, let's go to Docker Hub. Okay, so we'll go to this particular Docker Hub and we'll search for this repo. What is the repo name? Container registry Docker Hub, and we'll go for Ashok 25 flask app, right? So let's search for this particular Docker hub. It's available as a public Docker image in Docker Hub. Okay, we'll search for it. It should be there. I think it should not be searched like this. Okay, so this is what is the Docker image that we have. What this playbook is actually, the primary goal of this test playbook is to actually create a Dockerized container. It will download this particular Docker image and it will do a Docker run on this particular image. So that is what our task is. For this, what we need is we need to be able to install Docker in our machine, and once we install the Docker, we should be able to start the Docker in that machine. Once we start a Docker in that particular machine, we should be able to run the Docker container, this particular Docker image, Ashok 25 Flask app. So that's our goal is, right? So let's do that. So all we need to do is run this particular YML file, but there is a catch. So this is outdated YML. Okay, let's see what does it mean actually, and how are we going to debug it. Okay, let's blindly go and start and try to execute this particular YML and see how it goes. Okay, so let's see if the YML is already there. Okay, I am. Okay, so this machine looks like got corrupted. Let me log in again. How do you log in? I log into my Bastion machine like this. All right. Okay. So we are inside the machine itself. We'll follow the same steps. Sudo su dash, which will actually log in as root, and we'll go to our GitHub repo, Ansible, AWS Ansible, and then we will go to we will actually start the virtual environment, source, Ansible bin activate. You understand what's the meaning of this or doing all these things, right? Source activate bin, probably actually it's a very important concept of my virtual environment in Python. Always use virtual environments when you are actually working on Python. Okay, so you are inside your virtual environment called Ansible now. Yeah, so we are inside our repo. We have our Flask app here itself. Now we have our play Flask app. We already have our Flask app. We just need to execute this Flask app application. Yep, so let's see what it is doing. So we have already seen that what it is doing. It is actually trying to install Docker. It has multiple tasks in this case. Okay, so it will try to install Docker, and it will start the Docker service. It will start the Docker service, and it will actually install our Flask application and under port 80. So you remember this command? We had lot of sessions on Docker, right? So Docker run, try to recollect. Okay, Docker run, what it will do, try to recollect from our previous sessions. It will actually run our Docker instance. It will download the image from Docker Hub. It will try to download the image from our Docker Hub, and it will actually create an image in our local machine, and it will create, sorry, it will create a container in our local machine, and it will bring it up and expose the port. It will expose the port in our local machine at port number 80, and in the Docker it will be the port 4080. So that's what this particular single command is. So finally, the 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 playbooks has multiple tasks: install Docker, start the Docker, and start our Flask application. So we use the Docker software to actually run this command. Okay, Docker run. So in order to run this Docker command, you need to install the Docker and start the Docker. Okay, so we will try to do that, and we'll see what the problems we are going to face to run this particular command. Okay, so what we'll do, we have to do is like we have to run Ansible playbook, right? So we'll just run Ansible playbook, and the the Flask app, and we will give. Okay. Let me see whether I have the host file already in the YML. Yeah, so my YML is already having the group CentOS, so it will execute on the group CentOS. Okay, and I'm also already saying become is equal to true. Cool. So all I need to do is like execute Ansible playbook and send this particular command. And I need to give the inventory file name, which is host, which contains the group CentOS. And that particular CentOS group will be identified, which is already I have mentioned in the YML file. In the YML file already I has the host group name. So let's go and press enter. What happens? So it successfully gathered the facts. It is trying to install the Docker. It is trying to install the Docker. Let's see what happens. Okay, it is taking a lot of time. So it is taking time to actually install the Docker. Let's wait for this to happen. And I think we'll see the problem. Basically, what happens in CentOS 8 is like it has already has a old version of Docker, which doesn't run under systemctl. It doesn't work under run under systemctl. That is a problem which I have faced because before itself it was working fine in CentOS 7 machines, but with CentOS 8 machine it is creating problem. So how do we go and solve the problem? Let's understand how to actually solve this problem. Okay, so now you see that it says that I have successfully installed the Docker, but I am not able to stop the Docker because I couldn't find a service called Docker at all. There is no service called Docker because Docker is evolving differently every time, right? So, so this particular command in our YML, right? It is no longer valid. It is a old command. So the way we install the Docker doesn't work. So this is not the right way to install the Docker. So probably we can take it as a homework, maybe. Like what is the exact command we need to actually execute here as a VM command so that our Docker installation actually works fine, right? So I went ahead and researched on it and found out that so this is not the way we actually install the command. Manually, I have seen there is some instruction already saying what is the correct way to install Docker. I will just so there are a number of ways, right? So this is one of the way. Sometimes once we have old version of Docker, right? So we have to go inside the machine explicitly and we have to uninstall all the Docker specific traces by this command. And after that, we have to install the Docker. We have to update the repo and probably we have to run this particular command. We have to run this particular command and then so we have to install Docker this way. So we install Docker C, Docker C CLI, and container dio. So if we do these steps, right, then it works, right? So I haven't tried it. Let me try how we can actually use this, right? So one thing is like for now we'll manually log into that particular machine. Okay, so now we have seen that we are facing problem with starting the Docker service for all the three machines, right? So we will go ahead and manually configure one machine. Okay, 141. Let's choose 141 machine. Let's log into that particular machine. To log into the machine, we have to log in as CentOS and rate. Okay, so we log into the machine. Okay, so we are inside the machine. Now we will try to do these manual steps. We are going to uninstall completely. We have uninstalled the Docker completely. We are doing it for only one machine, and we will see how we can automate it, how we can automate these particular commands in our YML. Okay, let's see how we can do that. Now we have uninstalled this particular Docker, and we are explicitly installing, updating the yum tools. Okay, and we are actually updating the Docker repository. We are adding the updated Docker repository to make sure that we are having the correct repository, and then we are going to install the Docker. So what the playbook is supposed to do, we are doing it manually. Okay, so we have manually installed the Docker. So we have manually installed the correct Docker now in only one particular machine, 141. Okay, so we have successfully installed manually in one particular machine. It is taking some time to complete the installation. Let's wait for it, and probably we'll run our playbook only in this particular machine only. Okay, so this is a typical case. Okay, so let's wait for this particular installation to complete. Okay, so that try to recollect what we are doing. So we are trying to via playbook we should be able to successfully install the Docker and then successfully start the Docker, and then we should be able to install our Docker container, right? We should be able to run Docker run. So that's what our primary goal is, right? So we are not able to successfully do it in our playbook. We have manually logged into that particular machine, and we did the installation of Docker manually. We did the manual installation. Now let's try to run the playbook. So this is the playbook we need to run, right? So I don't want to run on all the CentOS machines. I want to focus on only 141 machine for now. So let me go ahead and edit the host file. Host file. I don't want to run on CentOS machine. Let me create a new group now. Mm, Let me create a new group saying that I'll say it as only one machine. Let me put it short. Only one, only one. Okay, so I'll put it very simple, and I will use this particular group only. Okay, so let it only one group, only one machine. So this group contains only one machine, which is 144, 141, where I have manually gone ahead and properly installed the Docker manually. So what happens? What will happen now? What will happen when I actually try to execute the playbook, and I will give the group name, which is like only one, right? So only one, I had to go into the Flask app YML, and the host group name, I have to say that it is not CentOS. I'll say the group name is only one, which I have created right now. Okay, it is only one, and that's it. So now it will try to execute the same commands on only one particular group, only one group, which contains only one machine. Okay, so this is how you are trying to debug a particular case, right? One particular case. So now I'll go ahead and execute my playbook host. Yeah, let's see. So it is trying to install Docker. Okay, now still there is some problem with resolve problem with install package. So it has discovered that Docker CE is already there. Problem with install package Docker C. It is not able to. It is having some other problems. Mhm. So it should actually successful. So conflicts the Docker provide podman and okay. So let's see how it goes. Let's try to log into the machine again and see. Let's start that particular machine. Yeah, I think we need to. I think we need to start that Docker service also. Um, so and let's say systemctl status. If it works, then fine. Otherwise, Docker is not properly installed. Okay, Docker is installed. So let's say see the status of the Docker. So Docker is already running. That's fine. Okay. Okay. So we have found out that the problem is with the way we are installing the Docker in our YML script, right? So let's exit of our machine. We are trying to exit out of our machine and we will edit our YML. Our YML has a problem. YML, our first task command, the name, how we actually install the Docker has a bug. So because we have manually installed the Docker, probably we can delete it for now. So we have deleted our task, one task, which is installing the Docker in the old way. We have to find out a way how to install the Docker in a proper way, right? So for now, we will actually uninstall this portal Docker. We will go ahead with starting the Docker service. Okay, so let's save this particular file. So my now new file actually doesn't contain code to actually install the Docker, but rather it is containing the code to start the Docker service, and it has code to actually start the Flask app. So it has only two tasks, and it assumes that the Docker is already installed, which I did already, right? Now let's go ahead and execute our playbook. Okay, so we have executed our playbook. Now you see, so the Docker start Docker service is working fine. Now it has started our Flask app also. It is going ahead to start the Flask app also. It has faced some problem in starting the Flask app. What is it? Okay, so it is actually unable to find the image Ashok 25. It happens sometimes. Let me try again. Sometimes Docker Hub complains when we are trying to download a particular Flask app. Mm, driver failed. Actually, it is intermittent because like it is simple Docker run which should be running. Sometimes Docker pull doesn't work because the image when it tends to because of network latency uh, it is unable to. So let's see what happens. The driver failed programmatically external continuity on the endpoint. This one. Okay. Uh, okay. Oh, okay. Okay. So I think the port number 80 is already occupied. So we had HTTP. We had installed HTTP, right? HTTP already runs under port 80, right? So I think that is a problem. So we will go ahead and we'll go ahead and uninstall HTTP. So what is the command to uninstall HTTPD? We can just execute a Ansible ad hoc command to actually uninstall the HTTPD. So that's already handy in our slide, right? How do we uninstall HTTPD? So I think HTTP is the problem. HTTPD is already there in our machine, and because of that, port conflict is happening. So we'll go ahead and stop the HTTPD. So this is the command to actually stop the HTTPD in CentOS machines. CentOS machines. Yep. So this will go ahead and uninstall. Uh, oh, there is a problem with become. There is two dashes. Yeah, so it will go ahead and uninstall HTTPD. Awesome. Now let's execute. Now hopefully it should work. So it is starting. Cool. So you got it right. So before you saw that there was a conflict for the port number 80. So it actually mentioned that I am unable to bind the port number 80 which you have mentioned to bind. Because we had HTTPD already installed in that particular machine, it was already getting it got hold of the port 80, and all that it is like uninstall the HTTPD and it released that particular port 80, and that particular port 80 is used by our Docker service now. So if you see our Docker, our flags.yml, right? In the flags.yml, you see this port number 80. So it for this particular command to run successfully, port number 80 inside that machine should be ready to be accepting the binding request, right? So that's what has happened. Now, now you see that our Ansible, we are able to successfully debug our Flask app YML, and we are able to successfully execute the tasks. So this is the live demo of how we can actually debug a particular playbook. Okay, so now we are expecting that our Flask app is running under port number 80, right? So we can verify that. Before that, we need to make sure that our machine 141, our machine should be 141, right? This is 14201. So our 141 machine should be exposing port number 80 in inbound rules. Let's see. So this is 142. Let's see our it. This is 188. Where is 141? Yeah, so this is 141. So in 141, let's see the security group. Let's see our security group. This is our security group, and this is our inbound rules for the security group. Let's go ahead and edit the inbound rules. Here we can see that okay, 80 port is already there. 80 port is there, right? So all we need to do is access our app. Flask app should be ready, right? So let's verify that. Let's go ahead and log into our public IP of 141. 141's public IP is there here. 113 not this one. This is the public IP, right? So let's go ahead and see whether we are able to see. See, so we are successfully able to deploy our Flask app, and we can actually see our web application being exposed in this particular public endpoint, uh, blah blah 168, right? So we are able to deploy our Docker instance into this particular thing. So this is how we actually debug and make our Flask app running. So there is some other task pending here. So we have manually installed our Docker installation of Docker. We did manually, right, by following the steps which was mentioned here, right? So I think this would be a good exercise for you. Like how are you going to modify the existing YML command, YML flask.yml file. So this is a flask for YML file, right? So our first task, this is our first text. So this was buggy, right? So this was not working. So what we did is like we deleted this particular task and we manually went inside and we installed the Docker manually, right? So we have to write code, we have to write tasks uh, based upon our learning by following this particular uh, URL. I will just post it. I will just post it to you guys. And why don't you guys try to convert this? set of instructions, this one, and this one. These are basically y yum commands, right? These are yum commands. You can just use either a shell module or you can use yum module. Any one of them. Either you can use yum module or you can use shell module. In this case, we are already using uh, in this flash.yml, we are already using the yum module, but the command that we are giving is wrong. Okay, so instead of executing this command, we can execute multiple task uh, multiple yum commands, and follow this particular commands, right? So this, and this, and try it out of your own this one. So these four commands, why don't you convert into a playbook and execute it and see whether you are able to successfully install Docker in your AWS instance or not. So next session we will actually try to. I will show you the YML proper YML by next in the next session. I'll show it to you. But I would actually expect you guys to just try it out and see whether you are able to do it. It will be good learning for you. So I'll just post it. So next session we will actually discuss about how we can convert these particular commands into a playbook. Okay, I'll just post it to our in our chat window. Okay, so just go ahead and try to look into these steps and convert it and edit our flask.yml. Add more tasks to install the Docker in a proper way. Okay, and next session we'll discuss about it. Okay, so this is what we have discussed about a typical playbook, how we are actually run how are we actually typically running a Flask application, uh, deploying a Flask application using Ansible. Okay, okay. Now, okay, great. So we have discussed about a typical Ansible playbook, and we have discussed about different Ansible modules, ad hoc commands, a lot of things, right? Next topic would be handlers. Handlers, actually, yeah. So handlers uh, are a part of Ansible playbook only, but they are not tasks. They are not executed every time. So they are only executed whenever uh, you are notified. So you notify a handler, then only the handler gets executed. So typical example, you can actually see it here. Okay, so here you have a list of handlers here, list of handlers, and the handler names are so on like this, and these handlers will be invoked only when they are notified. So here there is a notify, right? Notify command, and when the notify happens, then only the handler gets executed. Okay, restart memcached, so the memcached will be executed. Okay, so this is the typical example handler. You can try it out of for your own. All right. Mm. Okay, so our next topic of interest is configuration management. Okay, so what is configuration management? So Ansible actually, so any software actually has some default configuration, right? Similarly, Ansible also has its own configuration. So configuration is like where are our default default logs about our execution of Ansible is stored. Where is our default inventory management file is. Um, where is our default Ansible configuration itself is, and so on, right? So uh, that information, everything is there in as part of Ansible configuration. So default location of any Ansible configuration is there in etc ansible.conf. Okay, and you can explicitly override this particular default configuration, and you can actually explicitly copy that in your particular home folder also. And once you have that particular configuration in your home folder, the default location will be overridden, and it will the default configuration will be picked up from your home folder, or you can actually copy it in your current directory. And if it is there in current directory, it will pick the configuration from your current directory. Okay, a typical example of configuration management configuration file can be looked for like this. Okay, yep. Yeah, so inside the Ansible configuration, so we already have some default locations. Similarly, one example is like your default. inventory file will also be there as a part of Ansible configuration itself, which basically is etc Ansible hosts. Okay, it can also be overridden. Okay, so yeah, so when you actually execute a particular command, right? Sometimes you get this particular message. By this, you can actually see that which configuration file is being picked, right? So if you see this one, it means that your configuration file is that currently this particular command is using is from this particular file. Okay. So you get this information when you actually type this particular command minus v. Minus v is verbose, which actually gives more detailed information of your running instructions. Uh, okay. Similarly, yeah. So these are some of the tricks that we can actually use. You can actually instead of logging into the config file, you can just see which inventory is being used by executing a simple grep command, and by looking into that, you can see the what is the inventory file is being used. Um, yeah, so there are just quick cat and grep commands which you can use to actually find out the inventory file related information. Okay, so this is a typical example of how you can actually override your inventory, sorry, not override the inventory file, how you can actually copy your configuration file into your local directory. So once you copy from your local, you can actually copy from your default location to your current directory, and you can actually probably modify that particular config file and edit it according to your needs. Edit, and that configuration file will be used. That the current directory config file will be given higher precedence, and that config file will be used. So this is a typical example of that. Okay. Okay, so we have already seen how to create a new inventory file. We have created inventory file in our demo. We have seen that we have already had one inventory file called host. We had already another inventory file called inventory in our directory. We have seen that particular example. We are just emphasizing that particular thing. Okay, so it's again repeating the same thing. How we are executing the ping command on a typical Ansible host and so on. So nothing new. Yeah. Yeah, so this is a particular example of multiple configuration files, right? So once you are executing in this particular directory, then this Ansible configuration will be taken into consideration. But if you are executing in this particular directory, then this particular configuration will be taken will be taken into consideration for execution. So on hierarchy basis, on which particular folder you are there, that config file will be picked up and will be taken high priority. That configuration will be loaded actually. Yeah. Okay. So roles. So let's come to roles. So before discussing, so we will actually come across these roles. Before discussing the roles, we will actually discuss about something called Ansible Galaxy. So Ansible Galaxy is basically a new inventory management. Sorry, something like GitHub, right? For source code management, right? Similarly, Ansible community has come up with a particular repository management called Ansible Galaxy, where people have actually contributed, uh, researched, and have written a commonly used Ansible playbooks and actually defined them as their roles and uploaded it. You can actually go and see that. So you can actually type for Ansible Galaxy, and this is what, right? So here you will see lots and lots of role-based uh, Ansible downloadable playbooks, right? So you can just download all these things, which contains many modules also. Even there are uh, in the Ansible Galaxy, we have modules for roles for AWS. We have roles for Azure collection. So if you see that today, what I have actually posted in our WhatsApp group, Azure collections, right? That particular demo, the modules which are used in that particular demo are actually downloaded from Ansible Galaxy only. So let me show you that. Okay, Azure, uh, Azure Ansible. Yeah, I think that should be enough. No, yeah. So let's see. Yeah, so you can see that this is official website of Microsoft, and they are actually also using the Ansible Galaxy community. Okay, so in Ansible Galaxy, we have a role called Azure AZ, uh, AZ collections, which is recommended by Microsoft. So Microsoft actually recommends to actually download and install this particular Azure AZ collections and install via pip all the AZ collections related modules. So this is one of the typical example of Ansible Galaxy, which shows the power of Ansible Galaxy. So you can actually go ahead and visit about Galaxy. It is actually finally categorized into different main categories of your interest. You can actually go like monitoring. If you're going for networking related roles, you can go for networking. If you're going to security related roles, go for security, like that. So try to download which is having high rates, right? Which has lot of downloads. Like don't go for small downloads. If it is downloaded by many people, that then it is popular and which is more stable. So only download those particular. See, for example, this has a 225,000 downloads. So this definitely is popular and used. So try to use those roles in Ansible Galaxy, which is very popular. Okay, so this is introduction of Ansible Galaxy. We'll discuss more about Ansible in the next session. We are running out of time for now, so we will actually go ahead with other topics like Ansible Galaxy roles. In the next section, we'll go ahead and we'll also discuss about a typical Nginx Nginx playbook, and we'll try to install Nginx. We will try to install Nginx Ansible role by downloading it and try to execute it in the next session. Okay. For now, we'll close our session, and we'll continue with a few other Ansible specific features in the next session. Like Ansible Vault also we'll discuss in the next session. I just wanted to inform and the one small thing, like next session I am actually out of town. I'm in travel, so I may not be available for next session. So, so what do you guys think? Shall we actually do two sessions in upcoming sessions? Like next Sunday, I'm not available. Next Sunday, Saturday. So if you want, I can actually perform. If it is getting late, I can parallelly do two sessions, like 6 hours, if you are okay. Otherwise, I will continue with 3 hour sessions as usual. But for next week, Sunday, I will be off. I will be on travel. So we can actually meet in next alternative week. Okay. For now, we will actually stop the session now. Have a good week. Thank you, guys. Ah, okay. Is it so? Actually, yeah. Let's contact Gajendra. So just WhatsApp to Gajendra. I suppose like it should be there. It should be there for 15 weeks. I suppose. Just inform him whether what he can actually do about it. Okay. So okay, okay. So just let Gajendra know in our WhatsApp message. He will actually inform you. Okay. Mm, mm, yeah, okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah, that will be great. I will actually reply. I look at the mail and actually appropriately applied it. Yeah. Okay, okay. So I just post it. Okay, okay. So this is my email ID. Okay then. All right, guys. So meet you in the next alternative week after 2 weeks. Then next week I will not be available. Let's meet. Let's meet. Get back in the second Sunday. Okay then. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you.